All aboard! All aboard!
Carrie Joe was one of the new people that had come in, and from all that I could tell, he was 2 years younger than me because he was 2 years behind me in school. And we had a good mix of guys and gals. That was exciting, and we made some good music.
And so for that first year that I was in the choir, and she was in the choir at the same time. She was that good-looking gal playing guitar in the choir, while I was allowed to sing in the choir. And oftentimes we would go grab a bite of lunch or something, either after service or after practice. And so for that first year, it was nothing more than just another person in the choir. That she was, albeit a very good-looking one. I was coming back after having been gone all summer long. I missed all of my college acquaintances. I went up to my hometown up in the Panhandle, the little bitty town in the Panhandle. Interestingly enough, just to give you a perspective about how small a little bitty town it was, there were more people in my very first class in college than went to the entire pre-kindergarten through 12th grade of my school. And when I came back, it was the night for choir practice. I went up to our typical place for choir practice at the typical time, not knowing even if there was going to even be choir practice that day. I just went, and as I was entering into the room, Colleen just happened to be coming out of the room at the exact same moment, and she happened to be the very first person that I knew that I had seen since I'd been back. And I was just so excited to see somebody. I just ran up to her, I hugged her real big and just picked her up and just swirled her around, I think 3 times.
When he picked me up and twirled me around, I mean, of course, it was good to see him. I didn't expect to be twirled around. And he did that, and I went, hello. You grew. Whoa, okay. I hadn't thought about you. Well, maybe 2 years is not too much. Difference in age.
Well, shortly after that, it led to dating, and dating led to eventual getting married, and now it's been almost 50 years since I twirled her around like that. 2 kids. We're still in choir after these many years. We're still involved with it. At least she's involved with the choir. They don't let me sing anymore.
And we have 3 grandchildren. And, you know, our kids loved music. Both kids studied instruments as kids. And
Almost 50 years since I twirled her around like that.
Music's always been a big part of my life. I had no music talent to play music, but I had a lot of knowledge about music, and I love sharing that, and started working at a record store when I was a college student part-time, and ended up meeting the woman that would become my wife in that record store. Music's always been a big part of our relationship. From the very, very beginning, we were always going out to concerts, and to this day and age, we still go and experience live music 3 or 4 times a week. And I've always said that music is one of those things that you need every day in your life, just like you need water and oxygen. And it's definitely true for me and for all the people that come and shop here. I don't know that they know that themselves, but I know that about them.
When I was about 2, 3, or 4, when I was littler, my parents bought me this small red ukulele thing. I always played on it. I always jumped on places playing random songs, plucking random strings, and I played with it for years and years. Eventually it broke, but I still played music sometimes. I used things like glasses, plates, forks, spoons. I even taught people how to play other music that wasn't even an instrument. I even made my own instruments. Then when I was a bit older, like 4 or 5, I got a big Spanish guitar. I played on it all the time. I mounted a camera, I made small videos, I played concerts for my family and friends. I played songs all the time. Then, eventually, when I was 6 or 7, I got another ukulele. And then I actually started my musical adventure. I combined the 2 instruments, started making videos and editing them and recording them, mixing the different instruments to make one crazy song. I always mixed and made different music, different notes. I kept making songs over and over until eventually, when I was like 7 or 8, I made some friends. They're both really good at making music. One of them had an amazing voice, and the other was amazing at writing songs and could play a bunch of instruments. So we all teamed together and played a bunch of songs. I used my karaoke machine to record the songs. I sang in them, my friends sang in them. We all played instruments. I played my guitar. I did everything. It was really, we all kept playing music. A few years later, I got a big keyboard, and so did my friend. Most of them all improved in music stuff. Then, eventually, we're all able to write music and figure out how to bring them all the instruments and the voices together to make one beautiful song. We made tons and tons of songs. Some I don't even remember the name of. We were doing it for 2 years. Then I just kept making music. I never really stopped. Then my music group kind of split up, and we were all kind of separated. So we couldn't really make music anymore, and we never really got to see each other. We all moved away. We couldn't see each other anymore. But eventually, we still figured out how to make music. We kept making music. And we made music for like about 4 years. We used random things, like we used pencils, paper. We were always online putting together instruments, we kept making song after song, and that's how I'm here now.
Music is vital to our lives from beginning to end. The earliest sounds that we hear, our mother's heartbeat, lullabies, and so on will shape the way we communicate and think for the rest of our lives. Music stimulates in physical, spiritual, and emotional ways to help heal in a variety of ways. One example that comes to mind for me is when my dad was in a nursing home with dementia, and he became non-communicative, nonverbal for a while. But I would sing songs that he sang when we were kids, and he would immediately begin singing along. And not only did that help stimulate him and bring him out of his shell, but several other residents at the nursing home where he was would join in, and many of them, for the first time perhaps in years, were exchanging feelings and emotions through singing. Every culture uses music in rituals from birth to death and everything in between. People will always find a way to express themselves through music, even under the worst conditions. It might be a good idea for us to think of musicians as first responders who can bring healing during times of crisis or other challenges that we face.
I loved you then, I love you now. I'm the muse of music.
I loved you then, I love you now. I'm the muse of writing.
Where are you? I've lost you through time.
Where are you? I've lost you through time.
Let's meet again and share the healing power of music. My music.
Yes, let's meet again and share the healing power of music. Your music, my words.
My music.
My words.
We'll continue our story.
Separate, but together.
Together, but separate.
Same, but different.
Different, but same. We'll be moving into an experience that's experimental, mysterious, exotic, colorful, directional, and melodic, embracing a quality which is soothing to spirit, mind, and body.
It's challenging, but not impossible, to link seemingly disparate music styles, instruments, and personal experiences within a music-filled life.
Call and response interludes are doable and have a timeless quality which can serve us beyond its origins in human and wild animal communication and bonding, calls to prayer, healing, migratory hunting, and entertainment, blending the essence of the music of the Middle East, Asia, Africa, Europe, North and South America, Oceania. Nature and outer space embodies the history of music and its healing power.
Your instruments, as well as who you are as artists, will have a timeless conversation. Let the music remind us of its power as a healing global ambassador. Let's expand the walls of storytelling, music, and education through your personal stories and your timeless music.
It started when I decided to go professional, and I went to audition for a entertainment company in Florida. And when I got down there, I could read music, I could play music, I could read dots like anybody. But I got down there and I played my dots fabulous. I didn't play my dots, and they said, "Here, play this chord chart." And I said, "What's chords?" And they looked at me and they said, "Well, try to play these chords in a swing style." And I looked at it and I said, "Okay." So I played what I thought was my best swing style. And then they said, "Well, take these same chords and play them in a Latin style." And it's amazing how much my Latin and my swing sounded exactly the same. So I did not get hired this particular audition, but it taught me a lot of things about what I needed to do to make myself a lot better, to make this, I don't call it a job. It is a passion. It gave me the opportunity and the incentive to go out and learn more about what I needed to do to make it in this business. And it's not all just the business, because as I have played more and gotten better, I hope that it has touched other people's lives in ways that I never thought would happen. People who were not having the best of days, if you go sit and you listen and you just play for people, that all of that bad stuff goes away. Everything goes away for them, and they just sit and enjoy, and it makes what musicians do, what we do, and what we've been doing this whole weekend is finding ways to make people better. Not just because of what we do, but it's because music, no matter what form, tends to touch people in ways that we never know. We don't always see the benefit of what we do, but we hear of what happens when people go to concerts, when people see people just enjoying what they do, whether it's a solo instrument, whether it's a group, whether it's a full orchestra. There are huge benefits for people that need that kind of uplift. And so this whole weekend is about showing what musicians can do in a very healthy, beneficial way. And I think just sitting down and making things up has been the best part of this whole weekend. And not only that, but meeting new people that you can influence and have yourself influenced the same way. So I feel fabulous about what I do as a living. I wouldn't do anything else.
Well, hello y'all. So, music, oh boy. Well, I grew up in an artistic family. I was the only musician, I guess you could say. I was primarily raised by my grandmother, who was a feminist playwright, and made me love theater. And theater was, a kind of magic joining of all of the arts. So fascinating, and it also made, you could have one word or one sound, or one light, and all of the arts together could just create this perfect, I don't even think there's a word for it. So I fell in love with theater, with art very early, and I was also exposed to a really incredible community of women. She was part of the 70s feminist movement, and I remember when I was 11, we went to something in New York. It was some gathering of all these incredible women. And one woman, they were giving speeches, and you could tell they were older, they had been through a lot, And one woman just got up and she said nothing, absolutely nothing. And that was the first moment that I really understood the power of silence, how much you could speak with very little. And I think that also formed my understanding of music, of art. I started drumming when I was, around 8 or 9. And which really filtered a lot of this energy for me. The school said, like they said to many kids, oh, she has ADHD. Luckily, my parents didn't buy that. So instead, they allowed me to play drums, and filter a lot of the energy that, sitting there in a box in school doesn't allow you to have a normal development that a child should be creative and running around. Should be sitting, right? So I was able to play drums, thank God, and I took to it very quickly. It was just something that engaged all of my limbs, and such an incredible instrument. Got very quickly into jazz, just absolutely loved jazz. Jazz was always playing in the house. My grandmother briefly knew Sinatra, she would always tell me. And Sinatra played in the house a lot of old swing, Gene Krupa, a lot of the greats were happening in the house. And then my family was a New York family. They had mostly gone to New Jersey to, as for me and my cousin to be raised. But by the time I was able to, I moved back to New York to study. And it was just a feast of world music in New York. There was just venues upon venues and festivals and all kinds of things to be able to witness. At first, I came into contact with Indian music. There was a lot of Indian music, huge community. And my first experience as around 19 years old of trance music was an all-night Indian concert, I remember. And at the end of that, I said, I know there's something here for me in old music, in trance music, in traditional music. And it was still like a little seed in me. I didn't really quite understand it. And then I ended up seeing a flyer for a Palestinian musician was playing up on the Upper West Side. And I went, and then that was when my whole life changed in the middle of his violin solo. My goodness. And I remember every detail of that moment. My whole life swung on its axis, which was wonderful and terrifying because I knew nothing about that music at all. But I just knew I had to pursue it. So I looked up this guy, like, who is this guy? And found out he taught every year this it's called Arabic Music Retreat, and I went, and there my whole world just, it just started. I met the community, I met the people, and one thing I remember, which was so frightening to me, people would play and sing and look into each other's eyes,
Music is magic. What's magical about music? Well, music transforms a room. Music transforms a mind. Music transforms an audience. Music changes the way I feel about the world. When I'm playing with people, when I'm playing by myself, I'm communicating something inside me that I can't communicate with words, that I can't communicate any other way. The way I communicate my emotions, my inner feelings, is through my music. And I'm grateful for having the chance, having some level of ability to do that, some instruments, some saxophones, some flutes that I can use to communicate those kinds of things. And I have had some amazing opportunities to play my music with people, with some people I've never met. I've had the opportunity to play music with an ensemble in Japan where we couldn't communicate with words because they didn't speak English, I didn't speak Japanese, and we made a whole album of incredible music, totally improvised, no previous conception of what we were going to play, except I suggested, because the name of the club was in F, that we start in the key of F. I listened back to the recording. Of course, we actually didn't play in the key of F, but that was what we'd intended. I want to tell two stories about how music transforms and how music is magical. When 9/11 happened, New York was devastated. And it turned out that a band that I played with, a band called Birdsongs of the Mesozoic, was scheduled to play in New York at a club in early October, not too long after 9/11. And we had a debate in the band, should we play this gig? Should we impose ourselves on a city that was just torn apart and was emotionally devastated? Should we bring that extra baggage into the city just to play music? And we decided, yeah, we should. And we went down to New York, and we played. And one of the things we played was Terry Riley's In C. Terry Riley's In C is a very meditative piece. It's an interesting composition, but a very meditative piece. It goes on for a while. And when we were done with that piece, people were crying. People expressed their emotion, and I'm emotional about it right now. It was an incredible time, an incredible piece, an incredible thing to do, and it was magic. And what we realized was, if music is important in the world in general, it's super important in the world when there's something like that happens. It's super important to be able to have that communication with people that's not verbal. The other story I want to tell is about a memorial service. It was for my late wife, Karen Aqua. And she was very interested in New Orleans second line music and New Orleans. And she requested that we play at her funeral the piece, I'll Fly Away. And we did that in the New Orleans style. We started out slow and dirge-like. And in fact, I started on the stage all by myself. And I was gradually joined by my friends one at a time, playing I'll Fly Away. And we played that, and we started marching out. And we transformed that song from a dirge to an up-tempo, joyful piece in the New Orleans style. And it was amazing. It was what she wanted. It was what I wanted. And it followed this incredible New Orleans cultural approach of merging joy and sadness at exactly the same time. And realizing that you can be sad and you can be happy. You can be sad at somebody's passing, and you can be happy that you had time to spend with them at the same time. And that was magic.
And here's this culture that's so warm and generous and loving, and playing music, it wasn't an option. It wasn't an option to not be emotional when you're playing, to not share love when you were playing. So it was something I immediately aspired to. I first fell in love with this tiny little guy, which to me was a drum set in the palm of a hand. It could command an entire orchestra. It could capture all the nuances and subtleties expressed by any instrument, while also commanding, the kick and snare, if you will. Just absolutely fascinating. And then the others came along, and then the oud was a whole different expression. Like I mentioned, was this expression of utter love and emotion. And to this day, as you can tell, it's a challenge, because I almost envy people who grew up with it, because how do you play and not cry? How do you keep yourself together? How do you go deep but not too deep, and lose yourself and and somehow be pulled back? So ultimately, in a nutshell, world music, Arabic music, for me was the key to music therapy, specifically when I pursued therapy and then formed, my own kind of music therapy. Because it was so immensely healing, and as I studied more and understood just how old and how widespread this type of music was, I realized it literally was and is used for healing and for expressing emotion, and emotion, movement is moving things, you know. As musicians, we are moving things out. In such a world where we're so stuck and stuffed, literally and figuratively, we've got lots of stuff around us, inside us, and this particular music especially was a pushing out constantly of all this. And it challenges me to this day, even to this literal day, you know, because this morning we were playing and there's moments when you forget that you're trying to control yourself. You forget that you're trying to hold back. And you let go. And it's scary, you know. Can you get back up? So, you know, and since I would say I realized something today, just how actually challenging the pandemic was for me. I don't think I even kind of understood that. See what happened here? But I realized how much, how it was difficult, and the losses I experienced were very challenging. You know, including people that, you know, were brought me up in this incredible music form, and my whole world for much of my adult life, and being so grateful to know how to play these things, these instruments, and not being able to express that for several years with people, where it lives with other people, and you know, living in the Middle East just pushed that lesson even further for me prior to the pandemic, where no one felt like a stranger. I could walk around and if I felt like I needed something, I felt like someone would run to me and help. If someone was sick, the neighborhood would run to them. You know, my neighbors would meet me with baskets of fruit they just picked from the tree, or stop for 2 hours to have a coffee in the square. And the warmth and generosity and love that was shared by everyone has really just taught me so much about life. And yet I'm here in New York and in America, and constantly trying to find that balance again. And in some, you know, this day, yeah, it reminds me that it's possible.
I think from my earliest stages, I think it's just, for me, it's just really all about making sounds and experiencing sounds. And I think from my earliest experiences, it was really a lot about singing to the radio, listening to music, making sounds with my mouth, making sounds, percussing toys, and doing things of that nature. And I started doing music when I was pretty young, probably first grade, 5 or 6 years old. Started playing piano, but piano really wasn't my calling. I had, I think it probably would have worked out for me, but I just had a teacher that didn't really work for me, so I ended up quitting studying piano and moved on. I think that what turned me on to playing guitar, which is what I'm holding here, is seeing some television programs with pop music from the day. I saw Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I saw excerpts of Jimi Hendrix playing at Monterey Pop Festival. And that, when I saw Hendrix play, it was like he was a wizard on the instrument, and he could make sounds that I just couldn't even imagine. So at that point, I was really hooked. And I think in terms of my education, pretty standard elementary and high school education. I played music throughout my days, but I never thought I was going to go into music until about the third year of my college degree program. I was studying sciences, chemical engineering, and I just decided to really go in a direction where I felt I had the most passion and most desire. And I mean, that was 40 years ago. I feel like that particular decision was just kind of a fork in the road kind of decision, and have absolutely no regrets. I think as someone who has more of a scientific mind, being a composer is something that's very interesting to me. I love working with sounds. I love coming up with sound structures and thinking about how to shape sounds into larger pieces of music. So with regards to feeling music, playing music with other people, it's an amazing joy. It's an amazing gift that we can share with each other. It's an extremely unique experience when you can sit down with a group of musicians and play music without having any notion of what you're going to do before you start, right? And everybody brings to it their own skills, their own techniques, their own ideas, and everybody has to bring to it their ears and their experience, which helps make the sounds that the individuals are making a grander or larger than the whole. And I think this is the thing that's the most amazing thing about making music, is that you're creating something in time. Every moment occurs. When that moment passes, it's gone. You move to the next moment, and yet you experience the entire of a performance from beginning to end during that performance, and enjoy the elation of making sound, the joy of sharing it with other people, and the joy of sharing that with an audience. I think that's really, it's one of the most important things about making music.
As your muse of music, I feel complete. You have created beyond my expectations.
As your muse of writing, your stories have moved me beyond my expectations.
We'll continue our story.
Separate, but together.
Together, but separate.
Same, but different.
Different, but same.
Music healed my son.